Okay, let's go to the East. The Philadelphia 76ers are one of the most talked about teams in the NBA. Some people had them in the finals at the beginning of the season. Didn't exactly look great throughout the regular season. So we're hearing about Ben Simmons playing the 4 right now, more Shake Milton. We'll see what happens with Joel Embiid. How do you personally feel about the Sixers?
I think they have real upside, especially on the defensive end. I think everything that's come out in the last few days about Shake Milton playing point guard, Al Horford coming off the bench, like that, I think was what we should have expected based on how the last few weeks were before the hiatus. We just didn't happen to see Simmons healthy at the same time as Milton was playing so well. Milton still has to prove that he can keep up that play and do it under much more scrutiny than he was under before, especially in a playoff scenario. But I love the fit. Like he theoretically does exactly what they need. Like they needed more ball handling. They needed more outside shooting. They needed somebody that can sort of be a connector between Ben Simmons, Joel Embiid. Like their roster is extremely talented. It is extremely versatile defensively too. But offensively, I think it has been limiting for Ben Simmons in terms of the spacing out there, in terms of the offensive role that he's had to play. I think even guys like Al Horford and Tobias Harris, they haven't always seemed completely comfortable in their roles. Joel Embiid probably been spacing to the perimeter more than he would like to. He has vented about that to the media at times this season. The pieces just haven't been a neat fit. Now, whether or not the pieces can fit well enough for that defense to be able to hold them up, like that is possible. And I think going into the year, the people who were super optimistic about them, the people who were honestly more optimistic than I was going into the year, they weren't saying that they were going to be this dominant offensive team that was going to be putting up 120 points every night. The idea was that if they could be, slightly above average offensively and be this like absolute monster on defense, just be dominant, then that could be a formula. They could bully teams. They could make their offense extremely ugly. I mean, this is part of what we saw last year in that 7-game series against Toronto. The team that ended up winning the championship for the majority of that series looked like it couldn't get an easy look to save their lives. They needed Kawhi Leonard to be the hero, getting these tough isolation buckets. And they're looking to kind of grind games out and make them ugly once again this year with an even more defensive slanted team. The question has always been, without Jimmy Butler, without JJ Redick, can they make the offense passable? And I think what they're doing is their best chance of doing that. But I don't know if it will get there. I don't know if, especially if you're talking about a series in the second round of the conference finals, like the Bucks, the Raptors, the Celtics, they're such strong defensive teams, right? So to be able to have a flowing offense against that, to be able to consistently get high percentage looks, high quality looks, that will be their great challenge. And that's definitely been like exactly what Brett Brown and the staff have been obsessing over the past few months. And soon we'll find out if they've come up with anything creative to make that happen.
Yeah, it's hard to remember now, but that game 7, it was so ugly against Raptors. Jimmy Butler was the biggest reason why they were still in that game all the way towards the end. And the thing with Ben Simmons is like, he can dominate a series versus the Nets in the first round, then he can vanish in the second round against the Raptors. And with Embiid, the question is always with his conditioning. And then, of course, there's Brett Brown, where it's like some people love him. Some people think he's not such a great head coach. Maybe Philly just is what it is. Like, are we just at that point where it's like potential kind of has to be left by the wayside? Like, this is just kind of who they are, or do you still have a little glimmer of hope there?
That's sort of where I was. And now it's just things are so different. I don't know what their opponents are going to look like. I don't know if they are going to change things up going into this. I know Ben Simmons, obviously, he was dealing with a serious injury. What we were going to see from him, if he was even available to play in the playoffs, was going to probably be a diminished version, right? Al Horford has been pretty open about the fact he was struggling with knee issues throughout the regular season, or the first portion of the regular season, I should say. If you're looking at an improved version of Horford, an improved version of Simmons, if Embiid is in as great condition as he says he is, and the team says he is, maybe they do have some upside. Maybe just merely getting to play Milton and Simmons together will unlock something different. I think even in the playoffs last year, like it was a little awkward. It was a little uncomfortable when Jimmy Butler became the de facto point guard. But you saw some games where Simmons was really effective, essentially playing the power forward position that he'll be playing now. He was shouldering a huge defensive load guarding Kawhi Leonard. I think defensively, he's even gone up another level this year. If he's not first team all defense this year, I will be pretty surprised. So I think there is theoretical upside there, and I think I believe that a little bit more now than I did in February and March. But we still have to see how this shakes out. No pun intended with Milton.